Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Good Coach, Bad Coach. Secret that great coaches know that the others never figure out. We know there's lots of bad coaches in the world, and why? Well, when we know better, we do better. So I've wanted to do this show for a long time. We're in our fourth or fifth, maybe sixth episode. You can follow us on Stitcher Radio, Good Coach, Bad Coach. You can listen to us on iTunes, our Podcast Republic, or you can watch this puppy every Sunday night at 6 p.m. And boy, do we have a great topic for you today, because if you're out there and you're a coach, from Little League to junior pro to middle school to high school to college to even the pros, you're looking for a guide to help you think better, to respond faster. And tonight's topic of our show is the 5 rules of a crisis. Now, there's all levels of crisis in your life. You have personal crisis, you have professional crisis. But at this time of the year, most of my friends that are in coaching are either thinking about transferring to a new job, some of them are getting released from the jobs that they're in, or there's some type of upheaval, there's some uncertainty, there's a lack of knowing about the future. And so people are trying to figure out, what do we need to do? Well, if you don't have a model, if you don't have a plan, this uncertainty will just eat away at you every single day. So when I show you the 5 rules of a crisis tonight, you can use this with your teams. You can use this in your personal career. If you're a coach, when you do have a crisis that comes up, and we're going to define a crisis as a departure from the ideal scene that has some type of dramatic consequences to it. It is a departure from the ideal picture in your mind that has some type of dramatic circumstances or consequences around it. I first created these 5 rules of a crisis many years ago as a head coach when we were picked to have a strong chance to win a championship. We were certainly expected to win 25 to 30 games. We had a team and collection of great players, and midway through our season, our best player, our most productive player, person that produced the most for us, was injured. She was injured unexpectedly. And as soon as she was injured, I could tell. People started to say, there goes the whole season. There goes our chances. So I had a sale to make. I had to first sell our backstage sale, which was our own team, that this is not the end of the world. We can actually use this adversity to accelerate our progress and make ourselves stronger. Now, adversity is an unwanted outcome. Departure from the ideal scene. It seemed at the time that this was a dramatic consequence to our team. We could shut it down. We could call it a season. Hey, our best player's out. We're done here, which is what most people do. So I stepped back and have spent about 2 weeks thinking, what could we do? How could we take this negative and turn it into a positive? How could we use this adversity to actually accelerate our progress versus stagnate our improvement? And I remember hearing something about how Jack Welch at GE had the 5 rules of a crisis. When you have a crisis, here are 5 steps you need to take. But in that time, those rules that he had were pretty dramatic. And it really had to do with somebody on the team that became a major detriment to the team. And so here's how you handled it. Many businesses use that philosophy, but I said that's a little extreme for us. We need different rules. We need a different model. So today we're going to talk about what happens when your program, you personally are in a crisis scenario. Your best player goes down. You just got fired from your job. 3 of your players transfer. You're losing your team. They're checking out on you. The competition has destroyed you, so your confidence is shot. What can you do in these scenarios? Because if you don't have a great plan, guys, then what's going to happen is real simple. This adversity is going to knock you down so badly that you won't be able to get back up. So today's show is going to be incredibly valuable for those people who are out there right now who's got an unwanted outcome and an unwanted scenario, or you should have won the whole thing this year and you didn't, or you lost your team, or the whole thing is crumbling to you. Now, we come back from the break. Here's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you 5 great rules that you can use in any personal or professional crisis. You're watching Good Coach, Bad Coach, and I'm the Super Coach Micheal Burt. Follow me at Micheal Burt on Twitter or search Coach Micheal Burt on social media. Come on back and get these 5 great principles when you hit a crisis in your life. Hey, this is Coach Micheal Burt, and I have a prediction. Within the next 5 years, every manager in the world will have to become a coach. You know, a good coach will do 3 things for you. They make you have conversations you don't want to have. They make you do some things you don't want to do. They'll help you become something you didn't think you could become. This transition, what I call the coaching revolution, prompted me to create a program called Turn Your Managers into Coaches. What we want to do is drive up engagement, drive up production. We want to become a manager other people want to follow. If you've got managers out there that you want to turn into coaches that engage people in systematic behaviors that allows them to do something tomorrow they simply cannot do today, pick up the phone and call us 225-8380, 615-225-8380, or email us at info@coachburt.com, and we're going to teach you how to turn your managers into great coaches. Welcome back, Good Coach, Bad Coach. I'm the Super Coach Micheal Burt. Boy, I love tournament time. We're in March Madness. We're at the end of the season. There's so many people that have pushed and tried to get here to win a championship. And this is where the rubber meets the road, baby. This is where you put all your chips in. This is everything that you've worked for. If you're in the business world, this is crunch time. This is when you're pushing across the finish line at the end of a hard month. This is important, but what if? What if this year ended with a crisis? What if some unexpected outcome happened? Some departure from the ideal scene? What can you do as a good coach? Because I know what bad coaches do. They compare and complain and contend and criticize, become complacent. They check out, they move on. They start thinking about greener pastures in other positions. But great coaches know that crises are going to happen. And when they do, they got to have a plan. So today I'm talking the 5 rules of a crisis. Rule number 1, instead of asking the question, why me? Why did this happen to me? I'm a good person. I do what I'm supposed to do. I work hard. Of all times, why did this have to happen to me? The very first thing you have to do is replace that question of why me and replace it with what is this trying to teach me? Now, you can use this personally. You can use it professionally. You see, many people go into a victim mindset. They go into, why did this happen to me? Why did it happen to so-and-so? Why did it happen to another team? Why does this have to happen to us? This was our year. This was our time. This was what everybody expected and anticipated. This was it. This was our one shining moment. Why me? When you have why me thinking, you pout. You whine, you complain, you retreat, you contract, you back up. You play from a scarcity mindset. Insecurity will kill every amount of swag you've ever had in your life. What happens? You start getting insecure. You start playing a reactive game versus a proactive game. So rule number 1 is you got to replace that question. Why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to us? We don't know why it happened. It just happened. We didn't ask for that player that year to get injured. It just happened. And when it happened, we departed from the ideal scene of winning that championship and moving forward, and we lost some games. But I will tell you, during that period of time, I think we went 10-1 or 11-1 during that period of time without that great player. And some of it was to do with we used this adversity to get stronger. So the first question is not why me. First question is, what is this trying to teach me? What it's trying to teach us is maybe we shouldn't rely on one person. What it's trying to teach us, maybe we need a better system. What's it trying to teach us is maybe we're not as prepared as we thought we were. Because if one person can knock us out of doing this whole thing, then we got a real problem. Because we can't always rely on one person to get it done. First question, replace why me? What's this trying to teach me? Question number 2, which is the hardest question to ask, in my opinion, when you go through a personal crisis. What did I do to contribute to this adversity? What did I do to contribute to this adversity? Now, we are where we are today based on every decision we made up until today, or lack of decision. We are where we are today based on every decision or lack of decision. Life is about choices, it is about actions, and it is about consequences. There are both positive and negative consequences to our choices and our behavior. And natural laws govern our choices. You may think you govern, but you don't. You govern the choice that you make, but natural laws govern the consequences of those choices. So remember this. When you go through a crisis, the first thing you need to step back and ask is what did I do to contribute to this adversity? You may have had something to do with it. You may have not had something to do with it. You may have created a system that created this mess. You may have done something that created. So the second question you got to ask is not what did I do to contribute to this adversity? Now, the difference between a proactive person and a reactive person is real simple. A proactive person takes full and total responsibility for their lot in life. They don't blame, they don't point fingers, they don't make excuses. They own the results or failure of their life. And when they contribute to the adversity, they own up to it. Step 2 of 5 rules of a crisis. What did I do to create this adversity? Because 90% of the adversities we face are directly created by us, by either our decisions or lack of decisions. Once you make a choice, once you take an action, then there's always a consequence. So when you think about this, 5 rules of crisis, real simple. Number 2, what did I do to contribute? Number 3, many times during a crisis, right now my former school's going through what seemed like a crisis. Coaches resigned. Players are most likely thinking about moving somewhere else, possibly to follow him. They're trying to hold this thing together, make decisions fast. There's all kinds of public controversy about what happened, about, throwing the game. It's national news. That's a crisis. So here's the third thing. When there's a crisis, guess what people do? They get emotional. They're not rational. Emotions are lousy leaders and will lead you wrong 9 out of 10 times. Your emotions, people make emotional decisions that put them in terrible predicaments. Emotions are feelings. Emotions are some type of internal insecurity that tell you something that many times is not true. Some of the worst decisions of your life, my life, will be made real simple when we're emotional. Get emotional, we get tired, we make bad decisions. We say things, we do things. Why? We're emotional. So the third step is to not get emotional. It's to get stable. I want you to remember that. It's to get stable, to get rational. Because when we have peaks and valleys in our life, when we're at low moments of our life, we make bad decisions. And why we make bad decisions during transition are real simple. We go back to old habits and new ways. We go back to places of comfort. We go back to where we feel accepted versus where we think we'll be rejected. So during the middle of a transition, if you study transition, we're low on confidence. We're at actually the lowest point in the middle of a transition because we're disoriented. We're disoriented because we've lost that which we thought was normal. So now we're in the middle of this transition. What do? We grasp for things that'll give us confidence. We reach out for things. We make emotional decisions. We go back to old habits in new ways. Step 3 is you got to get stable. You got to understand, and many times it'll take another person to tell you this. Hey man, you're emotional. You're an emotional basket case right now. Okay, you're too low. You're up one day. You're down one day. You're listening to your feelings. You're not thinking rationally. And because of this irrational thinking, you're making irrational decisions. You're saying things you shouldn't say. You're doing things you shouldn't do. You're going back to old places that'll do nothing but hurt you. So step 3 is you got to get stable. Now we got 3 steps. Number 1, what's this trying to teach me? Number 2, what did I do to create it? Number 3, I got to get stable. Number 4 is I got to get help. This is why it's so important to quit trying to go at this on your own, to quit being stubborn, to reach out to other people who have more experiences than you, more knowledge than you. Pick other people's brains, because here's the deal. You need help. You need help. So when you think about this, you got to step back and you got to reach out for help. Lots of people become recluse during crisis. Lots of people hide out. Lots of people revert. Lots of people don't want to be seen. Lots of people go back to old habits. So the 4th step, you got to be humble. You got to reach out for help. And you got to say, I need some help in this scenario because I can't get there. Now we got to get the 5th step. And remember, this is anytime you have a departure from the ideal scene in your life, this is what you got to do. The 5 rules of a crisis. Use this. Use this in your personal life. Use it in your professional life. Step number 5 is is you got to get busy. You got to get busy. Once you've gotten help, instead of sitting there and waiting on something to happen, you have got to create the next big thing in your life. You can't always sit back and wait on somebody else to create it for you. You have got to create it. Because this is the deal. You've looked at the scenario. You've got your emotions out of it. You've got some help. You got stable. Now it's time to quit living in the past, man. Quit reliving the drama over and over and over. If you knew how many people asking me over the last 4 or 5 weeks, what's been going on with your old school? I bet I got asked 25 times last night in another part of the state. Everywhere I go, what do you think about this? Look, it's done. It's done. Let's move from it. Let's move on. And don't participate in extreme thinking. Okay? When you participate in extreme thinking, you judge people quickly. They make a mistake, one mistake, and you judge other people. Don't participate in extreme thinking. Okay? So when you think about this, step back, chill out, get help, and then it's time to quit living in the past, and it is time to move on. It is time to get over it. It's time to get up, suck it up, move on. There's very few things that'll cure a crisis greater than taking new action, creating a new challenge, changing the story, changing the tape in your mind, moving on to the next big thing. If you will use these 5 rules of a crisis, when we had that player that got injured, what I stepped back and I said is we have to take this adversity and we have to use it to accelerate progress. There are players on the bench that have not been playing that will need to contribute. We need to sell them on the fact that they can get better. There are great players that have not been producing at the levels they could produce at. Now they're going to have an opportunity to do it. See, we were relying really on 1 or 2 people. And you can never win big when you rely on 1 or 2 people. Now, you rely on 7 people, 8 people, 9 people, 10 people, 1 or 2 people. You got no margin for error. One of them goes out. One of them gets hurt. One of them can't get the job done that night. They double team somebody. Can't win a championship like that, man. And I learned a valuable lesson as a coach. Quit relying on 1 or 2 people and build an entire team that trusts each other, believes in each other. And when you have a crisis, they step back and they go, okay, baby, crisis time. But it ain't a problem. And it's not a problem because we have the 5 rules of a crisis. Guys, there's good coaches out there and there's bad coaches. If you knew the secrets of a good coach, why in the world would you ever become a bad coach? I'm Coach Micheal Burt. You can watch this show every Sunday night, 6 p.m. on the Burt Network. Go to burtnetwork.com, Good Coach, Bad Coach. Listen to us on Stitcher Radio, my new favorite app. Just search Good Coach, Bad Coach with Micheal Burt. Follow me on the Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, Vine, Instagram. Follow us everywhere. Just search Coach Micheal Burt. And here, go out there this week and be a coach other people will choose to follow versus have to follow.